We are Rogue Media Sports.
Hello and welcome in. It is the Cam Show on Rogue Media Sports Network on a new week here on the Rogue Media Sports Network. I'm your host, Cam Stewart. Zach Burke keeps us on the air. Today, we will be talking about the Red Sox, who they themselves are now saying, yeah, you guys are right. We really suck. Who is to blame for that? How bad do they suck, and how does this get better? Plus, we'll talk with Pete Souza of the Pete Souza Show in the second segment to talk about the media happenings right now, and specifically around the horn. Why are we all of a sudden pretending this was like the greatest show to ever grace our televisions? Plus, we will also talk about the Bruins and how they could be getting a huge bounce back in 25-26 from a very unlikely source. Is Jeremy Swayman back? All that and more coming up on this episode of The Cam Show. We start with the Red Sox. I was at the game yesterday. Memorial Day, drove up from Chicago to Milwaukee. Beautiful drive. It's like an hour 20, all on the highway. No real traffic. Maybe it's just because it was Memorial Day, but no real traffic. And you just basically hop off the exit and you're at the ballpark. Roof was open. Nice day. I had great seats for it. I literally had this like vision on the way up there of Garrett Crochet, no-hitter. And I'm not going to lie to you guys. I was still going to go to this game no matter what, but the night before when I went to buy the tickets, I see that Crochet's pitching, and I'm like, you know what? Put down a little more cash. Get some really good seats. I had great seats. It was right behind home plate, about 15, 20 rows back. Just awesome seats. And then Garrett Crochet loses the no-hitter on the first pitch of the ball game that he throws. It's a home run, and the Red Sox do not have a lead in this one at all at any point. 3-2, they lose it. I get completely screwed out of Dollar Hot Dog Day at the park formerly known as Miller Park. It literally had Dollar Hot Dog on the sign at the concession stand, and then they said, oh no, actually it's not programmed into our computer to make that sale, so you have to go to the other one, the line that's 3 times longer right next to us, even though you just sat in this line for 15 minutes. That was a horrible experience. The guy in front of me and next to me at the cash register was another employee of the ballpark trying to buy his Dollar hot dogs, and he flipped the fuck out. He made sure they had a manager come over and speak to him because he was getting his Dollar hot dogs, 300-pound stadium employee waddling his way, but he was right. It was on the sign. Anyway, we're not talking about that. We're talking about the Red Sox and why they suck. We know the Red Sox suck. Now they're admitting that they suck after another one-run loss, this one to the Milwaukee Brewers. And wouldn't you know, in their last 10 games, they're 5-5. That's after they split a series against one of the worst teams in all of baseball, the Baltimore Orioles, split that one 2-2. And on that 10-game homestand, they were, yeah, you guessed it, 5-5. They're as mid as they come, except now in the first measuring stick versus barometer day of the baseball season, Memorial Day, they fall 2 games under 500 where it actually counts. And they're now 7.5 games back of the Yankees in the AL East. They are spiraling out of control, and they know it. Rob Refsnyder after the game, not mincing any words when it comes to how this team feels about themselves right now.
Tired of losing close games. We just need to figure it out and win some games. It's not for lack of effort or, work ethic, game planning. It's just, we're not doing it. We suck right now. We got to just be better.
They suck right now, and they know it. And that's what's most disappointing. And honestly, going into this game yesterday, I see the lineup, and I'm like, why is Christian Campbell playing center field? Why are we doing this? Why is Christian Campbell in center and David Hamilton is at second base and Roman Anthony is in friggin' Worcester? Why are we doing this? It's in my notes in my scorecard. Like, why? That just doesn't make any sense. Why are we still doing that at this point in the season? Why can we call up Marcelo Meyer, which, by the way, only comes out of complete necessity after an Alex Bregman injury, but we can't call up Roman Anthony? Like, who needs to get hurt? Because we can arrange this. I think Jeff Galooly's still looking for work. Who needs to get hurt for Roman Anthony to get called up to the big club? He's the number one prospect in baseball, and he's just wasting away at Bowler Park in Worcester while Christian Campbell plays center, and David Hamilton, for some reason, completely fucking useless, continues to get at-bats in the major leagues. Make it make sense, please. I'm begging you. And David Hamilton is far from the only useless player in this lineup. We'll get to that in a second. But the way the Red Sox lose this game yesterday, it's so 2025 Red Sox, it hurts. Okay, first off, they lose a one-run game. They have the most one-run losses in all of baseball, and it's not even particularly close. Second off, they only score 2 runs because that's what they do. They don't score runs. They don't score runs before the 7th inning. They haven't done that in like 3 games. That's almost impossible. They suck at that. And the unproductive outs. I take score at these games because I'm weird and possibly autistic, and I like doing that. And I started tracking something else in yesterday's game, and that was just unproductive outs. Outs you make with less than 2 outs in the inning, so not the inning-ending out, that do not advance a base runner. And the Red Sox had 5 such outs. 5 of their 27 outs were completely unproductive. And that's not including the bad at-bats and the bad outs when nobody was on base. This is 7 hits on the game, 5 unproductive outs. And that's not counting how many guys they left on base either, because that was a lot. By quick math here, 10 guys left on base, including 3 in the final inning, which gets me to my final point of why this Red Sox team is so effing frustrating to watch. Because initially you look at the lineup, and Carlos Narvaez is hitting 3rd for the Red Sox. Like, really? That's the best lineup we can put out there? Carlos Narvaez hitting 3rd? And then how about the fact that late in the game, this would have been after his single in the 8th inning, he was pinch run for Connor Wong, the other catcher. And so that when you get to this scenario in the 9th, when Jarren Duran has a clutch single that puts runners at the corners and drives a run in, cuts it to a 1-run game, and you've got Rafi Devers coming up, baby. Go-ahead runs on base. What are they going to do? Of course they're going to walk him, because the guy that's on deck, Connor Wong, has 1 extra base hit and a whopping 0 runs batted in this year on Memorial Day. So of course they're going to walk him. If the Brewers don't walk him, they fire their manager into the sun. And as soon as I'm behind home plate. I look over, Connor Wong's on deck. I know what they're going to do with Devers. I just say, excuse me, and start making my way out. The game was over. That's exactly what happened. Connor Wong flew out, left 3 on base. The Red Sox lose another 1-run game. So who is to blame for this? Is it Alex Cora? Because I think he deserves plenty of blame here. The way he's handled the bullpen this year, the way that, things like this shake out in the 9th inning, where you have Connor Wong coming up right after Rafi Devers. What kind of protection is that? Of course they're going to walk him. And it's no better that Christian Campbell was like 2 hits this month, a guy I love and who will come around. But why is he batting cleanup? That's an embarrassment of a lineup they put out yesterday. An absolute embarrassment. And Trevor Story at 6 is one of the biggest embarrassments in all of Major League Baseball. Since April 22nd, he has legitimately been one of the absolute, bar none, worst hitters in MLB. 15 for 108. Just over 130. With 2 extra base hits in a month. 1 double and a homer in 26 games. That's so impossibly bad. This guy is not a major league hitter anymore. Give it up. I know it's a big-time contract, but this is making the Pablo Sandoval contract look good. Give it up. Marcelo Meyer, every day, shortstop, bang. Oh, but you can't do that because Alex Bregman's hurt. And since Alex Bregman got hurt, they have become one of the worst offenses in baseball the last few days. They can't do anything right. Anything. They went 2 for 20 with runners in scoring position over the final 3 games of the series against the Orioles. The Orioles. They're horrible. They're one of the worst teams in baseball. They're an abject failure, and you fucking split with them because you can't hit with guys on base. Oh, by the way, they went 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position on Monday. 1 for 9. The lone hit of that game with runners in scoring position was with 2 outs in the 9th inning. Like, it's just, there's no answers, man. No answer. So 3 for 29, if you're doing the quick math there, 3 for 29 with runners in scoring position since Bregman got hurt. And they can't score. One guy out of the lineup. And they're completely fried, man. Completely fried. For the month of May, Trevor Story, 163, 212, 213 slash line. 2 extra base hits, 28 strikeouts. 11 for 55 with runners on this whole year. And that was after a decent stretch in April. A decent stretch. But it's those guys and it's the 1-run games, man. 6 and 14 in 1-run games. That's so bad, man. That is what separates the great teams from the good teams and the good teams from the mid. And the Red Sox are mid. They're like 6 games over 500 the last 7 years, and that includes a trip to the ALCS. So one of these things is not like the other. And I don't think, by the way, I don't think firing Alex Cora right now really lights a fire under these guys' asses. And I think it's not something you have to really think about when you decide to make this move. But I don't know how that rubs Alex Bregman, a guy who was your best player this year and has a team or a player option after this season. But it is worth noting, like, he finishes in last place more than he makes the playoffs. And why do we just take that as Red Sox fans? Like, we don't take it as Patriots fans. We don't take it as Celtics fans. We don't take it as Bruins fans. Why do we just take it as Red Sox fans? Why are we just okay with this just not getting any better? Why do we keep the same people in place? What does Andrew Bailey do? How is the rolling away from fastballs really worked for this rotation? Garrett Crochet is the only dependable starter that you're going to get start in, start out. By the way, he was good yesterday. He's very good. 11 strikeouts and 6 2/3. Only gave up 2 hits. He's the only one who's actually out there performing for this team. Pete Fatsi, like, who does he have pictures of? The hitting coach is so expendable. Like, just get another one. Get a slightly different philosophy, because this one does not fucking work. If the philosophy is absolutely do not put the ball in play when there are guys in scoring position, then bam, they nailed it. And Jim Rice does not know what he's talking about. Hall of Famer can't give hitting tips because this is their goddamn philosophy. Go 3 for 29 over a 3-game stretch with runners in scoring position. That's a good strategy. And yet Pete Fatsi just continues to sit in that dugout, will pull over, and tell guys they're doing a good job. And the worst part about this for the Crochet thing is the poor guy must be thinking, how is this any different from the White Sox? Like, they're not the worst team in modern baseball history. They're not last year's White Sox. But in terms of Crochet starts, like, they're 2-4 in his last 6 starts. His ERA is barely over 2, and he's 4-4 on the year. Like, that's a lot like pitching for the White Sox. And all you need to do is be dominant with your number 1 starter, Garrett Crochet, and go 500 in the rest of the games. And they can't do that. They go 500 in his games. He's getting just barely a run more per game in run support than he got last year for the worst team in the history of modern baseball. How do we just let this go on, man? Why aren't heads rolling? Why doesn't anybody get blamed for this? And amazingly, one of the guys who doesn't deserve a lot of the blame is Rafi Devers. From a hitting standpoint, he's their best hitter that's in the lineup every day. Alex Bregman's out. But it is frustrating that now it's not even a story. Now they won't even think about asking Rafi Devers to play third base, which would open, his old position that he was so adamant about playing in spring training. They won't ask him to do that when Bregman's hurt, even though that would absolutely allow for a chance to bring up Roman Anthony, because they don't want to ask him again. They don't want this to be a media circus again, because Devers is going to throw a little pussy fit and be like, no, I can't play every position on the field. Like, he's just going to go into that. I can't play every position. I can't play every position they ask me just when everybody gets hurt, even though it's my old position. It's an embarrassing thing right now for the Red Sox. It's an absolute failure through 2 months of the season. And at the first kind of measuring point here, we always say, wait till Memorial Day to talk about what your team is actually going to be. You've finally got an idea of what this is. They're more than a quarter of the way, almost a third of the way through the season here. And they're 7.5 games out of first place. They're 2 games under 500. And the only team they're better than in their division is one of the worst teams in baseball that you just split a series with. Toronto's now better than you, and they're not even 500. It's an embarrassment right now. And I'm not saying Alex Cora needs to be fired, but Alex Cora has not had a good season. And I think you need to really assess after this season what his long-term future is here. You extended him last year because he was the only recognizable guy on the team, and he's the manager. And because, we just all told ourselves it wasn't Alex Cora's fault time and time again. And now ownership has gone out and made a big deal for Crochet. They've spent money on guys like Bregman. And now you realize maybe it is Cora. Maybe Cora's part of the problem. You got the best third baseman on the market. You traded for basically the best starting pitcher, quote unquote, on the market. And you have some of the best prospects in all of baseball. And yet you still can't win. You're the same team you were last year. Or maybe it's just injuries. But I think it's deeper than that. Let me know what you think it is down in the comments section below. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. It's completely free, and we're bringing you nothing but Boston sports content 5 days a week. We're live on YouTube every weekday, high noon Eastern time, and then available wherever you get your podcasts as well. Check out the other videos on the channel. Talk about what we're talking about for the Red Sox in the world of Boston sports. I'm your host, Cam Stewart. Zach Burke keeps us on the air 5 days a week. Coming up, Pete Souza of the Pete Souza Show on the Rogue Media Sports Network. Let's talk some media. Let's talk around the horn, because suddenly this becomes, Happy Days, The Simpsons, All in the Family, all rolled into one. RIP to the most important sports show in the history of Earth, Around the Horn, coming up next on The Cam Show.
We'll be right back after these quick words from our sponsors. This is Rogue Media Network.
At Open Goal USA, we're revolutionizing training for both soccer and lacrosse with our innovative portable rebounders. Perfect for players of all ages and skill levels, our rebounders improve accuracy, control, and technique in both sports. Built with premium materials for durability and ease of use, they're ideal for training anywhere, anytime. Whether you're perfecting your soccer game or sharpening your lacrosse skills, Open Goal USA has you covered. Visit OpenGoAALusa.com and elevate your training today.
Relax with Hemp Delicious. Organically grown hemp, massively blended with delicious organic herbs, responsibly sourced for their holistic benefits. Each sip offers calming, antioxidant-rich wellness. Brewed just for you. Sip the calm with Hemp Delicious. Find your blend at hempdelicious.com.
Introducing Muck Off's classic pink bike cleaner, powered by revolutionary nanotechnology that breaks down dirt and grime on a microscopic level while protecting your bike's delicate finish. Developed by our mad developer Alex and tested by riders, our products are made by riders for riders. Discover more at us.muc-off.com, where we break the mold to bring you the best in bike care.
Visit roguemediamusic.com for more music.
Are you ready to take control of your health? At 4U Health, we believe wellness and lab testing should be accessible, inclusive, and yes, fun. With our tech-powered at-home lab test, you save time and money while feeling your best. Say goodbye to long waits and office visits. Check your health on your own terms with 4U Health. Visit 4uhealth.com today and free yourself from traditional medicine. That's the number 4uhealth.com.
And now, back to our show.
To our show, which is the Cam Show on Rogue Media Sports Network. Cam Stewart, your host here. Pete Souza of the Pete Souza Show.
Cam, I mean, it's always good to see you, and I cannot get enough of this show.
I love having Pete on here. I would also love.
Can I tell you something? Either never don't ask. Like I will.
Well, today was like a tight time frame, and I just hate doing
at some
that.
point.
By the way, Zach, can we just turn him up a little bit before we keep going here? Thank you.
Don't you hate when he gets like so serious?
Well, I don't want to cut you off, but I want to hear you.
Something, Zach. He goes. By the way, Zach, can you just turn him up a little bit? Yep, thanks. He does that. He does the head down, right?
I'm a pro.
Yeah. No, but I think there's still a chance that this whole thing gets mishmashed together.
You think so?
You never know. You know, the Seuss dog and the stew dog.
I would love it. I would love it, honestly.
Yeah.
We have a lot of takes.
I'm developing takes, and I've got one.
Okay.
That, around the horn.
Okay, so let's set the scene. Let's set the scene.
Never that good.
Let's set the scene. Around the Horn just had its last episode on Friday, and we've texted about this. All of a sudden, it becomes like, this is the death of American sports journalism. Like, how can this be the end? I want to read to you one quote that I saw on Around the Horn, and it reads as follows: Around the Horn also had a way of reminding us that there are more important things to life than just sports. There was a level of humanity to the show that no other sports talk show could come close to having. There were moments on that show that spoke to people on a level that sports will never be able to reach.
Who did Scotty write that? By
Your
the way,
producer,
so Scotty,
Scotty
who produces
Swindler?
this show, who I absolutely love, was so into Around the Horn that, you know, he's like, hey, I want to talk about Around the Horn. I'm like, yeah, of course, whatever you want to talk about. Because he rarely asks, so I knew it was important to him. And he was like emotional talking about the show and the way it impacted his life. Yeah. And
It's like a nostalgia thing?
You know, I think there was a generation, Cam, and I guess it maybe either was prior to you or after you. I don't know. But, like, there was a group of kids who came home and watched Around the Horn.
Yeah. I mean, I was in that.
Yeah, well,
yeah. So you would get Around the Horn, PTI, that led right into, this is East Coast, would lead right into the 6 o'clock Sports Center, and then they'd have a game, either NBA season or baseball season at 7. You'd have a game. Yeah. So yeah, you'd be hooked in. You'd be watching ESPN for like 4 or 5 hours in a row. Monday Night Countdown for football season, and then Monday Night Football. Like that was absolutely. I was in that, and I watched Around the Horn all the time. I never even at the time thought, man, what a special show. Like I'm going to be devastated when this ends.
Can I tell you what I believe the fundamental flaw was for me, and probably for you, because you're sort of a historian, you have a real handle on the past and sports history. I could never get over, you know, and look, you know, for the record, guys who I really have loved to read, I mean, Le Batard, not so much anymore, but like he was a great columnist at the Miami Herald, and Stephen A. Smith, obviously, with the Philadelphia Inquirer. And the reason I bring it up is because they were very young when they were on those shows or when they were writing those columns. And some columnists get anointed early in their career. But there was something special about the sports reporters, or even where I was from in Philadelphia, they had a show called The Great Sports Debate that was on Prism. And it was a bunch of older guys, you know, even the sports report. Yeah, dude. Or even on the sports reporters, like it was Bill Roden. It was Larry Merchant. It was Dick Schaap. You know, It was Bob Ryan. You know, it was Bill Conlon. Like a bunch of guys who had spent a lot of time on the planet. And I really was like, okay, like these guys are going to tell me how it is.
Was Bill Conlon the problematic one?
Yeah. I shouldn't have brought him up.
Is he in the Hall of Fame still? I think he's still in the Hall of Fame.
I was hoping I'd get that by after it came out of my mouth.
You can't call me the sports historian and then feel like you can sneak that one by me. I will say about Around the Horn, like I think it was a good concept, like right, and it was kind of different in that, you know, it was like game show element to it, and you could mute the guys, and like I get that. I didn't mind that. We have seen a fellatiing of Around the Horn the last week.
Well, hold on. Can I finish my
Oh,
thought?
yeah, sorry.
So no, that's
your
fine.
Thoughts are so robust, man.
So we went from that, right, like these old school guys, to it really felt like I think the problematic thing with Around the Horn was, and they did this on the sports reporters, right, but it was like weekly and it didn't seem as dramatic. It became a revolving door. And at some point, I didn't know who any of these people were. And I felt like they were sort of ramming them down my throat. Like, why am I supposed to think Sarah Spain invented sports when I know she went to Cornell with Danny O'Donnell, who is like 4 years younger than me? And you know what I mean? Like, she's like 27 or 20. It just, and that's maybe a me problem because clearly there was a huge movement behind it. And then, of course, like the political stuff was just like, and again, I said on this show, I love Kate Fagan. I love her. But, like, they had her on at again for an appearance, and, you know, Kate is there talking about trans kids should be playing sports. And I'm just like, I love Kate. And, like, if I was around her, I just wouldn't bring that up because I know we wouldn't agree. But I don't know that that's the spot for that. I don't know. I just don't know. But I know, like, there were a lot of instances like that made me kind of be like, really? And I wanted to like the game show thing, but I just couldn't find it ever.
Yeah. And it's
find that gear
maybe this is just people waxing poetic because it's another example of moving away from what we would see as, you know, journalists talking sports on a daily basis and the topics of the day versus being a hot take factory, when in reality, it's probably just been a hot take factory.
It has been, dude.
Around the Horn the last 15 years, 10 years.
I'm still here for a journalist hosting a sports talk radio show. I will listen to that all day long. But that was not that. It was not that.
Not for a long time anyway.
No.
If it was.
Even though, like I love Tim Cowlishaw. Obviously, you love Bob Ryan.
You're a big Frank Isola guy.
I love Frankie Ice. Love him.
Had some run-ins.
Honestly, I know he's very successful. I've always found it hard to believe he's not more successful. He's so handsome. He's so well-versed. He's such a good writer. He's like has balls the size of church bells. I mean, he basically took on the entire Knicks organization and still found a way to continue to write and wasn't like, you know, ostracized from everything. But yeah, I love guys like that. But then I guess the new wave I never could get down with. Maybe that's my fault.
Maybe it is. Maybe it is, Pete.
Truthfully.
But by the way, for those who are waxing poetic about Around the Horn and how it's gone and there with it dies the old ESPN, PTI is not far behind. Like, what is separating those two shows really now?
Because PTI is awesome.
I know, but do you think that matters at this point?
Yes, PTI. Okay, let me explain to you why PTI.
And I like PTI. I agree with you. I like it, and that was always the show I liked more of the two.
We're on the Cam show, so we can fly F sharp. I fucking love PTI. Okay, and the reason I love it is because it's just this is what programming has always worked for me. Right? This is what kind of. I turn it on. I know what I'm getting. I know the rhythms. I know the two guys. I know they share amazing chemistry. Mm-hmm. And I can go there and forget about all the bullshit that I've dealt with all day or whatever's going on in my life and drop in and enjoy that show. whatchamacallit, whatever that show. Around the Horn was not that.
And I think we agree pretty heavily on this kind of take, is that, like, for me, chemistry is better entertainment than takes.
Yes.
You know, some people will watch it and be like, oh, there's no hot takes. Like, this isn't entertaining. But it's the same reason why I listen to a lot of podcasts rather than sports talk radio. I'd rather have chemistry and these guys having fun talking about what they're talking about than just throwing takes out there. And that's where PTI is still good. But I'm saying Tony Kornheiser's what, 75?
Yeah.
Wilbon's mid to late 60s. Like, I don't know how long they keep that going, Pete. I don't think there's.
I guess, and I'm sure you're right.
And I don't know that they would think of. I don't think they would plug anybody else in there. They never have, really.
No, and I wouldn't want them
long
to.
Term.
You know, the reason that show started is because people noticed around the Washington Post newsroom that Mike Wilbon and Tony Kornheiser had this amazing chemistry. The show was built around them. You know, Around the Horn was totally different. Yeah. Like, they kind of crowbarred or tried to crowbar chemistry in there.
Sometimes literally every day, like new people, rotating panel every day.
That show is magical. You know, I can turn PTI on in front of anybody. And I've done this, right? And they're always like, hey, what is that? Like, people love it. They see him. I can turn it on in front of Christie's kids who could care less about sports. And they love these two guys going back and forth who look different, but you can tell love each other. Like, you know, Around the Horn was never that. You put Around the Horn on, strangers are like, change this shit. You know, like, PTI's different.
When was the last time you watched Around the Horn outside of a dentist's office?
I mean, I would put it, dude, it's been a long time.
I couldn't even tell. I mean, it has to be over a decade.
And I have, because there's enough good television on at that point in the day that if you're really vegging out, you could find something else. And now with you know, you could put on whatever stream.
You can put on anything. Yeah.
But I love ESPN on in the background, you know, and I still.
And you know what? Sorry, real quick, because you just reminded me of something. Outside of a dentist's office, this is something that you would actually run into a lot, is you're in a lot of hotels.
Yeah.
And a guy like you know, you just want to throw on the TV.
Yes.
You probably watching ESPN a lot, and yet that doesn't fall. You're just like, I'll watch Bar Rescue on Paramount Plus.
Whatever else. Yeah. Or the local news.
Yeah.
You know,
that's
in
amazing.
Iowa City.
Yeah.
Facts. I just never, and I do believe there was an overreach with the celebration, and you know, like Tony Reale, his like little tour, he's so talented and so positive, and there's a lot to like about him. But I listened to him on Dan Patrick, and I was like, I have totally missed this, like.
To the point where you're like, am I reading this whole thing wrong? Like, what is this?
Dude.
I got the
Scotty
same feeling.
Said to me,
yeah.
Like, something, I forget what he said. He was like, I'm so sad. Or he was expressing how he feels about the show going away. And I was like, can I tell you, you're the only person I know that feels that way. If I asked all my friends, and I have a good amount of friends, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, it would be like me with a bunch of my buddies from back home in Massachusetts and being like, "Oh my God, Baylor just lost a heartbreaker." They'd be like, "Okay, what's the next game on TV?" You know what I mean?
It's back on you. You're of the era.
Yeah.
Who should like it? Like Zach Burke. Zach, did you like it?
The first part.
Zach liked
like Max Kellerman.
Yeah, the Max Kellerman. So Zach liked the first.
Oh, he liked the chin strap Max Kellerman days.
Yeah. But why do you not like it? Why did it miss with you, Cam?
I don't know. I mean, like I did watch it as a kid. I would never have said it was my favorite show or anything like that. I always liked PTI better. But I don't know. I mean, you know, I can be kind of a sourpuss, amazingly at times. So sometimes I thought it was a little gimmicky. And then, I didn't like kind of the rotating panel. I thought Woody Page was off his rocker a lot of the times.
Yeah.
It just never had a connection to me. I don't know exactly what it was. And I wouldn't say PTI was like this foundational part of my childhood or anything, but I liked that show more. I enjoyed that show more. I don't know what it was with Around the Horn. I never got into it. You know what was a show that I used to watch a bunch after school? Like this was one I watched religiously. It was on ESPN2. Was Sports Nation. Do you remember that?
Oh, dude, I remember that.
With Beadle and Cowherd.
Yeah.
And this was kind of early days of Twitter being pretty big. It was like 2009, 2010, and they would do polls. They would just run polls throughout the show. They would do, I think it was an hour actually. And they would talk about a topic for 5 minutes, and then they would reveal the results of the poll and how everybody voted. And I really liked it. It was kind of corny, kind of cheesy, but Beadle and Cowherd had like some real chemistry, they had fun with it.
And that was a show. That was a great reflection. Beadle was such a star. I mean, like that show. I don't even want to say it created her, but it allowed us to see her because I knew her when she was a Nets sideline reporter.
Really?
Yeah.
Longhorn,
I was the
by the
PR
way.
guy. This is a fun Beadle story.
Mm-hmm.
I was the PR guy, and I would be in charge of media seating, and I didn't give her a seat one time. And she came up and she's like, hey, I don't have a seat. And I was like, oh, you can just sit at the scores table next to me and her guy, Gary Sussman, who was the main PR guy for the Nets. Yeah. So I got to hang with Beats because she's,
You did that on purpose.
I mean, I wish I could say I was that smart.
It's your single days.
Yeah.
On purpose.
But she was Bill Simmons has said she's the best person he's ever seen on television.
Really?
When he first saw her. Yeah.
She's good. She's good.
Those guys have all the fun. That book, James Andrew Miller had a whole chapter on her called Beatlemania about how her star was so huge. She made a shitload of dough.
Yeah.
Off of all that stuff.
Yeah. I was just going to ask, did her career pan out the way we all thought? But it did. She was I don't want to say she's not successful, but it's not like she
successful.
Yeah, but it's not, I'm thinking of Katie Couric, Today's Show for years.
Well, you know what?
People instantly recognize.
You're right. And
Beadle did a couple of different things, She's
there's
that great player who
plays
plays Kevin Durant, who plays for 4 or 5 different teams. Yeah.
That's a great point. There were probably a couple forks.
Another Longhorn.
She left ESPN to go to the fledgling NBC Sports Network for that show Crossover that nobody saw. It was a fucking tree falling in the woods, and it really wasn't her
Fox
fault.
44 News. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so you guys were yelling out a fucking window over there at Channel 44.
Double in the audience. Something like that. So I wanted to get your take on that. I was thinking I was crazy seeing all this around the horn stuff. And when there's a media story like that, Pete, I can be, I think sourpuss was the term I used. I could definitely be like that. So when I'm texting Pete, for the people at home, I'm 50-50. Pete might just tell me to fuck off here, that it is a great show and it's sad that it's happening. But I know sometimes Pete is going to agree with me 100%.
I think I texted you about this, and I did not want to poke. I love Scotty, and it meant a lot to him. So I kind of
all the power to him. Whatever.
I chose to accept his love, and that was not a moment for me to shit all over that.
Right.
If I'm just not that guy, but I did not agree at all. I let him know that I totally disagree.
Yeah, it's just, One more thing before I get you out of here.
Yeah.
Because it reminded me of this when I was reading that quote. I'm kind of done with the caption, the term, bigger than sports. That's really starting to piss me off lately, Pete.
Yeah.
And it's mainly because I think the people that are saying it are disingenuous, right? They're like, oh, you're trying to make something really schmaltzy or just trying to have an opinion when you don't really need to have an opinion. But I thought about this over the weekend, super meta, and I'm wondering how you feel about this. I also hate that, I'm trying to think of an example of what people would say it for, when a fan base sticks up for, a fan who was seriously injured at a game. You see that sometimes, or they stand up for players because of what they've gone through in their personal life, and they start to really support them, or a player's cousin dies in a car accident and a bunch of fans donate to GoFundMe. It's why is that bigger than sports? Why can't sports be that? Why can't sports be a community? Why can't sports be, show loyalty and empathy and sympathy and love? Why does that have to be bigger than sports? You know what I mean by that?
Yeah,
Am I getting way too
agree.
far down the road here? Like, why can't that just be
is-
part of sports?
That is sports. Like, and I remember I took a sociology class at Richmond, which I failed because I just stopped showing up. I got in huge trouble with football
McShay got
coaches.
an A, but yeah.
Yeah. But there was a huge part of the class that did sink in on me, and it talked about the societal impact that like a winning sports franchise can have, or that a sports team can, and it's amazing. And that is part of sports, society coming together and having that communal feel. Right. But then I almost want to say it becomes something greater than, so maybe I
bigger
say that
than
too.
sports.
It's bigger
but
than
yeah,
us.
that's part, like, as someone who is probably too attached to sports and thinks about it in basically every facet of their life, it's like it can be just more than what we see on a court or on a field. Like, that was part of my college decision, which is one of the biggest decisions of your life. I mean, I know it was for you in a different way, that's understandable, the scholarship. But I was thinking, like, I don't want to go to Bowdoin College where, all my family members went. They have D3 sports. I want to go where I can go to a D1 football game, or, we're moving to Chicago. Love that. Good sports town, good culture there. And I know there's going to be a culture in part because of the sports teams. And like, to your point, when it's going good, it's a great place to be. Being in a city where the sports are going well.
And when it goes bad, by the way, Al Michaels had a great line in his book. He's basically like, as a broadcaster, I never wanted to say, and this is a little different, but like, this puts things in perspective. It's like, no shit. Like,
yes,
we should always have perspective.
Right. That's kind of
wreck is worse than your team losing, the second game of a twin bill. Yeah. Right.
And that was actually part of the quote too from Around the Horn earlier that I wanted to do real quick of that this panel of journalists that you watched at 3:30 in the afternoon had a way of reminding us that there are more important things to life than sports. It's like, if you need that fucking reminder, then you need some genuine serious help. And that's coming from me, who is probably the person who is closest to needing that reminder of anyone in your life, Pete, is me. And if you need that, you're fucked up. Like,
that was the exact point of the Al Michaels quote. I got that he was saying that. Like, of course, like, why do we even need
it's insulting to say it.
Yes, exactly.
Ugh. Anyway, I mean, we could go forever about that topic. I mean, maybe we will. That's maybe just another tease. Pete, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate you making the time after the Pete Souza show.
Oh, of course, Cam. Anytime. Pete Souza show every day, 10 o'clock Central Time.
Bang. Rolls right into us, live on YouTube, high noon Eastern Time, and then wherever you get your podcast, check out the videos on the channel. Like and subscribe. We're here 5 days a week. I'm your host, Cam Stewart. Zach Burke keeps us on the air. We're going to put a bow on it next, talking about the Bruin, who might actually be, dare I say, back. That's next on The Cam Show.
We'll be right back after these quick words from our sponsors. This is Rogue Media Network.
BizChair.com, your one-stop shop for premium commercial furniture that blends quality with affordability. From ergonomic office chairs to durable restaurant seating, we cater to diverse industries including corporate, medical, hospitality, and education. With over 20 years of experience, we offer fast shipping, exceptional customer support, and furniture solutions that stand up to high-traffic environment. Elevate your space with BizChair's vast selection of stylish, reliable, and cost-effective furniture. Visit us today at BizChair.com to transform your business. At Mitzi, we believe the right light can transform any space. Born from a third-generation lighting family, we craft beautifully designed, premium lighting that's made to be affordable. Inspired by Grandma Mitzi's eclectic style, we're on a mission to make high-quality lighting accessible to all. Whether you're updating your space or adding a unique fixture, Mitzi has the perfect design for you. Beautiful, well-made lighting without the high price tag. Discover your perfect light at Mitzi.com. That's MITZI.com. Mitzi. Founded in 1910, Samsonite is the world leader in durable, high-quality luggage and travel accessories. Made to the highest standards, our products won't let you down. We give you the confidence to get out there and explore. Inspired by the past, devoted to the present, and built to inspire a multi-generational future, Samsonite is here to elevate your journey. Travel with Samsonite and pack confidence every step of the way. Shop now at shop.samsonite.com. The grinder mentality that Randy and Brent Habert built into 44 Pro runs deep within our team. Every member shares a passion for the craft, the game, and most importantly, the player. When you step onto the field with a 44 Pro custom glove, you'll feel the difference. It's not just a glove, it's a 44 Pro. Crafted with dedication, made for performance, and built to last. Get your custom glove today at 44pro.com and experience the 44 Pro difference. That's 44pro.com, 44 Pro.
And now, back to our show.
Back to the Cam Show and Rogue Media Sports Network. I'm Cam Stewart, Zach Burke, keeping us on the air as he does 5 days a week, live on YouTube, and then wherever you get your podcasts as well. Just heard from Pete Souza of the Great Pete Souza Show. Great media discussion, again, about around the horn and things going on around the sports media in general in these days. Also talked about the Red Sox and why they think they suck earlier. And, of course, it kind of goes without saying the Bruins suck too. But dare I say, is Jeremy Swayman back? I was killing him about a week and a half ago. That game against, who was it? Denmark or something. They gave up a 5-1 lead. He didn't make any saves in the first 3 goals that he gave up. They blew the lead and ended up winning it in overtime. Well, after that, he was lights out for Team USA at the World Championships, about as good as you could possibly ask for if you're the Boston Bruins. And oh yeah, by the way, all they did for the US was win their first gold medal at the World Championships in 92 years. 92 years. And Swayman went into the gold medal game, pretty good stats. 6-0, 905 save percentage, 1.98 GAA. And all he did in the gold medal game, 25 save shutout in a game that the U.S. won 1-0 in overtime. So Swayman kept them in that game throughout. So he finishes the tournament 7-0, a save percentage of .920 and a 1.69 goals against average. Wow. Compare that to what he did in the NHL this year when he was 22, 29, and 7. A 3.12 goals against average, good for 42nd of all goaltenders in the NHL, and .892 save percentage. He was dominant in this tournament, much like we saw him in the 2024 playoffs when he was stealing the show. Probably the single reason why the Bruins won against the Leafs and then made it a 6-game series against the Panthers when they really had no business making it a 6-game series against the Panthers. That's the kind of goalie the Bruins went out and paid. The one that you saw in the World Championships, not the one you saw on the ice for the Bruins last year. So there's 2 different ways you can think of it. You could be like, where the hell was this guy when we needed him during the regular season? Which is perfectly fair. I'm kind of wondering that too. But there's also that thought of, are we just giving Jeremy Swayman a mulligan here? You know, he looked like a pretty nails goalie in 23-24. Granted, he was in a heavy rotation, right? He did not play nearly as much in 24 as he did in 25. But he still looked pretty nails. And here he is in a tournament, postseason tournament, and he looks pretty damn good again. Maybe this was easing into the thing. Maybe next year he will come out and be the number 1 goalie, the $8.25 million goalie that you expect him to be now, year in, year out. And the World Championships, it's obviously not comparable to the NHL regular season or the Stanley Cup playoffs. And obviously the U.S. doesn't normally take it very seriously, as evidenced by the fact they haven't won it in 92 years. It's really only the European teams that take it very seriously. But you are playing with and against NHL guys up and down the lineup. However hard they're going in that, you can, throw out your theories. It's not the NHL All-Star game. It's not the 4 Nations. But they're out there. They're playing against NHL guys night in, night out. Jeremy Swayman was nails in this tournament. If he is back, that changes a lot of things for the Bruins. It's the only single position on the ice for the Bruins where one guy can change really their whole outlook on the season. They still need centers, but they needed centers in 23-24. They need a right shot defenseman. They needed some help in 23-24, but what they had in 23-24 was an elite goaltending tandem. And if Jeremy Swayman could steal some games for them, they weren't way out of the playoff picture until April of this past year. If he can steal some more games for you, then maybe that does lift you back into the playoff outlook late in the season. Again, you need plenty of other help, plenty more help, I guess. But there's really no other one guy that you're like, man, if this guy just steps up to be what he should be, then this really changes things for the Bruins. Right? David Pastrnak was what he should be. Morgan Geekie, what should he be? Pavel Zacha, what should he be? The only other guy on this Bruins roster outside of Jeremy Swayman that you could say, like, hey, if this guy just steps up to be what we're paying him to be, this could be different in a good way. The only other guy is Elias Lindholm. And oh, by the way, did Elias Lindholm have himself a tournament at the World Championships as well? Takes the bronze medal for Sweden and was the leading scorer for Team Sweden. 8 goals, 6 assists, 14 points in 10 games. Shit, man, that was almost half his season total right there. 14 points in 10 games. Well over a point per game, almost a 1.5 points per game for him at that tournament in a season where he played all 82 games and put up 47 points and was a -4 and stunk for Sweden at the World Juniors, the Four Nations. So maybe this is like, hey, these guys got a bit of a rest. They go into a different kind of atmosphere, a little bit less pressure for Team USA. Sweden takes it pretty seriously. And they went out and performed. And maybe that was kind of the restart they need. You don't really get that throughout an NHL season. And I know Lindholm was hurt for part of the season, maybe more than we thought, but he was a huge disappointment, a total ghost for the Bruins this year. Just absolutely useless for them at $7.75 million per year. You're talking about $16 million annually for those two guys, Lindholm and Swayman. And you got to give credit where it's due. Is it the Olympics? Is it the NHL? No, but it's a legitimate postseason tournament, international stage, and they both played really well. Really well. We're both probably maybe the biggest reasons why their teams medaled. So are the Bruins getting a new Jeremy Swayman, and how much does that change their outlook in the 2025-2026 season? Let me know in the comments section below, because they sure need a new Jeremy Swayman. Let me know in the comments below what you think about Swayman and Lindholm and what this could mean for the Bruins this year. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. We're bringing you Bruins and other Boston sports content 5 days a week, live on YouTube at high noon Eastern time, and then wherever you get your podcasts as well. Check out the other videos on the channel. Special thank you to Zach Burke, who keeps us on the air. Thank you to Pete Souza for joining as well. I'm your host, Cam Stewart. We will see you tomorrow on a little ditty that we like to call The Cam Show.
Transform your workspace with Hanomi Ergonomics. From adjustable chairs to standing desks, we provide solutions for comfort and productivity, whether at home or in the office. Improve your posture, reduce strain, and work smarter. Visit us at hanomi.co today. That's HINOMI.co today. Experience the future of secure private cloud storage with Internex. Protect your files with end-to-end encryption, ensuring your data stays private and accessible only to you. Enjoy seamless, fast storage without compromising security. Visit Internex.com today and take control of your digital life. That's INTERNXT.com today. Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. Whether at home or on the go, NordVPN ensures your digital freedom. Stay secure. Download NordVPN today at nordvpn.com. That's NORDVPN.com. Zanes, we understand that maintaining a healthy lifestyle can be challenging, especially in today's fast-paced world. That's why our mission is to make fitness accessible to everyone, anywhere. Committed to excellence, we adopt a user-centric approach guided by ergonomics and medical science. With a team of seasoned professionals in R&D, design, and manufacturing, we prioritize quality across our entire product line. Visit twosains.com today and start your journey to better health. That's TOUSAINS.com.